Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn. I do videos on astrology and Feng Shui, and today we are talking about astrology. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Please hit the subscribe button. Hit that like button if you like videos like this, because it really helps out the channel. And if you don't know me, again, welcome to the channel. I am a professional astrologer. I've been doing astrology for a long time. I've written 16 books. I write a weekly sun signs column on sunsigns.com. I also write for horoscope.com and astrology.com. And in the description box below, there is a link to a PDF if you need a copy of your chart, which does include my email, where you can just send me your information and I will send you a copy of your chart. Okay, let's get started. Okay, Aquarius natives, you are doing this eclipse in your 6th house. That's work, health, daily routines, habits, etc. That's what's transforming and changing right now. Eclipses close a door and open a new door, helping us go in a new direction. Now, usually with eclipses, we get some sort of heads up about what this is. So you may already know what this eclipse is about in your life. You might have been feeling like you need to change some aspect of how you exercise or how you eat, or your level of productivity may need a little boost. And so this eclipse is here to help you. And it brings along that inconjunct to Saturn. And that Saturn is in your own sign just briefly. It's going to go back into Capricorn for a little while. And then next year and for the next 2.5 years, it's going to be in your sign. And this is all about how you can structure your life so you can really build something, where you can really create something that you're proud of, where you can gain expertise and really be respected. So this is your time for doing that. And it starts right now. This, though, does say, because it's an inconjunct, that you have to step outside your comfort zone and you have to do things that you might not feel are the most fun thing to do, but they're going to bring you bigger rewards if you will incrementally add them into your life. So of course, it would be fantastic if on January 1st, we could exercise once and be healthy for the whole year, but that just doesn't work. And so this is about finding ways that you can incorporate good habits for both work and health into your daily life and make these habits, these smaller habits. You know, I'm a big believer in mini habits. And I've said this before. I mean, if you wrote just 100 words per day on your novel or your script or whatever, you would have 36,000 words done in 1 year. That's incredible. If you painted one picture a day, imagine what kind of artist you would be at the end when you have 365 pictures stacked up. And think about that, you know, like an hour of practicing music every day. If it is something where you're building your business, like contacting 10 people a day, that would be 3,600 people. Sorry, that was too much math for my little brain. 3,600 people that you would contact in 1 year about your business. That is going to move the needle forward. But this inconjunct says you're probably already really busy. So how do you fit this in? And that is by looking at your priorities and putting what is truly important for your long-term goals up on top, because you're always going to find plenty of things to do that are going to take up all your time. This also does say, look at your habits and look at your daily routines and see if it's the things that you're doing are really bringing you value. If you really love to watch TV, and perhaps you're even writing a script or you're doing some acting or things like that, then it makes sense that you would spend your evenings maybe watching TV. But if it's not your biggest goal, maybe you can shrink that time or eliminate it entirely. Now, when we look at the North Node, South Node, now it is heading through your 511, and this says there's a lot more creative energy, a lot more leadership energy, and the South Node is out there in that place of the 11th house, which says in the past, maybe you were just part of the masses, you were just being a follower. Now the North Node in the 5th house says, how are you leading your life? How are you setting an example? And how are you placing creativity higher on your list? Now, this is also the house of children and fertility, so that if you have kids, that's great, and you might be spending a lot of time with them, and that's going to continue. Maybe you found that you really love teaching your kids and you want to expand that to other people's kids. If you are looking to expand the family, that can happen over the next 18 months. And so the energy that we're doing with this eclipse is where you start to say, okay, then if I'm going to do this, and you're a woman, you might be saying, okay, I need to get my body in shape for this. Or perhaps if you're in a relationship, or maybe you need to discuss how you would raise children, etc. And of course, I count pets as our little children. And so this might be that you would be adding a pet into your life. And so there is some questions that you need to ask yourself, and preparing the home for that. Those things are very important. There's a great book on that. I'm going to leave that link in the description box below. Now, the North Node, South Node, of course, is making that square to Mars in Pisces, which is going through your house of money. And so there is this idea that money becomes a focus. Now, you might be saying to yourself, all right, I want to go make videos, or I want to go play music or things like that, but I don't have the money to do it. And that's where the creative thinking comes in. That's where you start to get innovative. But it also does say that through you doing your life path, you can make more money. And so that is back to that, do what you love and the money will follow. Now, this is Mars in Pisces. This doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to quit your job and immediately go do this full time. It may not be appropriate for that. This is about a time of baby steps. Remember what I said, is small habits, small steps. That's what leads to success. Venus is retrograde in your 5th house. Mercury is retrograde in your 6th house. Now, the Venus retrograde does indicate that you could be going back to some sort of creative project that you had started before, or some sort of creative interest. Venus only goes retrograde once every 2 years, and so this is not so typical as the Mercury retrograde. And so you don't want to necessarily use this as a way to boost that. You want to more say, why am I drawn to this? Why am I returning to this? Or going back and looking at something and saying, I thought this was going to be something I did. Maybe you bought a lot of equipment to do sewing or to do woodworking or something like that, and you haven't done anything with it. Maybe it's just time to sell that stuff off. Maybe there's some other aspect that you're looking for that wasn't actually satisfied by that hobby because you don't do that hobby. Now, the Mercury retrograde in the 6th house does interrupt your life. So just as you think you got it together, just as you got your schedule all together, something comes up and poof, everything is crazy and, just falls apart. And it's typical that happens during Mercury retrograde, and you just have to take a breath and allow the change to happen, adjust your schedule, because there will be a point when Mercury is direct and you will be more disciplined on your schedule and you'll be able to stick with it. But right now, if something comes in and blows up your schedule, just say, okay, that's fine. I'll go take care of this thing and I will just bump everything to a new time slot. That Mercury retrograde, by the way, though, is really great if you are starting a healthy eating plan or an exercise routine. You always want to start those on a Mercury retrograde. You're like, wow, really? Why? Because every single retrograde period, which is 3 or 4 times a year, you will go back to that healthy lifestyle. You will feel drawn to do that again. So it's really good to start exercising and to start a healthy eating plan on Mercury retrograde. When we look at your relationships, we have that ruled by that eclipse in your 6th house. That means your relationships get better as you spend time together. And if you can't spend face-to-face time with each other, then you know, lots of phone calls, lots of texts, lots of communication. And this is heartfelt communication. It's an eclipse in Cancer. It is to be understanding first and to really empathize with what they're going through. And then later tell them about your day and tell them what you're going through. So it's first to nurture them, and then you can see what kind of nurturing you get in return. If you are looking for love, you know, you have that Venus retrograde in the 5th house, and this says you may be drawn to someone you were interested in the past, or that communication with somebody may start up again. But in general, you do want to wait until these retrograde periods clear, and they'll leave those dates somewhere on the screen or in the description box below. But that's going to tell you when you can really start to focus on attracting new love. When we take a look at your home life, of course, you have Uranus going through there, and you will for some time, but both Uranus and your 4th house are ruled again by that Venus retrograde, and that does mean that if you're thinking about redecorating or painting or doing something like that, be careful, because the retrograde could mean that you get the item or you put the paint on the wall and you don't like it, because the retrograde means going back and redoing something. So you want to put off big purchases. You want to just wait, because this energy is not conducive to liking something that you're doing. When we look at your career, it's ruled by that Pluto, and Pluto is conjunct Jupiter in your 12th house of spirituality and hidden talents. And this is the second conjunction. So we did one in April, we're going to do one in November, and we're doing one right now. And the fact that it's in this extremely powerful house, I know we call it your hidden house because it's hidden from you, but it's not hidden to all of us. We see your talents and abilities. It is up to you to find out what those things are. And when you think about this, if you look at the line of the ascendant descendant as being the horizon, these two planets are rising. They're blazing forth in the most visible place they could be. Now, of course, only Jupiter is visible by the naked eye. Pluto is not. That's not important. These are in a super strong position for you now. And so you have the opportunity of really seeing what your hidden talents are and how they directly relate to your career. So do the 12th house things, and that's meditation and journaling. Look at hypnotherapy, look at self-hypnosis, look at tapping, look at these different things where you can bring out these different energies from your past life, from your childhood, from your higher self. All of these things can help you find what you're truly great at. Now, it also does say that you're probably working behind the scenes, continuing to be maybe social distancing or working at home. It says that if you work in the medical field or work for a large company, you are indeed working. And if you are looking for jobs, these are the places to go. When we look at your money, we have Mars in your 2nd house. That means a lot of activity about making money, creating different streams of income perhaps, or looking at different ways that you can bring in money or even save money. This Mars in Pisces is about learning how your vibration can resonate with money, resonate with abundance, and that can bring you in more money. Now, it also does say to do the spiritual component, and that could be doing some Feng Shui about the house, which is just, if your environment supports your goals, then you have much better decision making and more energy for building what you want. That's what Feng Shui is about. And so I know it sounds a little strange to place the lucky money cat or the lucky money frog, but it really does work because it affects your reticular activating system. And so you start to look for money opportunities all around you. And that's what this Mars is reiterating. Now, it also is pulling money from that Neptune. So spiritual businesses, artistic businesses, businesses in entertainment, things that deal with vices. So, and that could be anything from vaping to the cannabis industry, all of those sort of things. All of those are ways that you could pull in money. When we look at your investments and money derived from resources around you and people around you, we do have it affected by that Mercury retrograde, which means there are some delays in getting profits or receiving a check, either from a person or from a government or from actually any sort of passive income source. It's going to be a little bit delayed because of the Mercury retrograde, but it will come through. So you just have to be a little bit patient on that. You may have to make some sort of contact with the people, reach out to them. Perhaps they're missing a piece of paperwork or there's some box that's not checked. Check that because that Mercury is in your 6th house. That's why we say check that paperwork. Your money derived from careers ruled by that Jupiter in the 12th, which is conjunct Pluto. That says that you actually could be looking at talking to your supervisor if you've been working this whole time, if your company is doing well, and saying, you know what, let's talk about my trajectory in this company. Let's see if I could get a raise at some point or get a position that has more power and responsibility. That can all happen. The Jupiter does say right now, because it's in your 12th house, that you are protected in this area. So it's likely that there is some sort of either government support or company support in your finances that you can draw from. So it is that money is continuing to flow, which is great, but the Jupiter is retrograde. And as it gets closer to the Pluto, it is asking you, how can you transform your career over the next year or so? So you need to start planting some seeds for that. And if this sort of talk interests you about the money in your chart, I did a program on Udemy called Finding the Hidden Money in Your Chart. I would love it if you would check that out. There is a link in the description box below. Thank you for sticking through this entire video. I appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up if you like videos like this, as it really helps out the channel. And I'll see you in the next video.